Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, June 26th, and welcome to episode 189 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. As usual, I'm your co-host, Jesse Burrell, joined by Riley McConnell, and today on the show, the Blue Jays losing streak is over. We did it. After a heartbreaking loss in game one of the series, the Blue Jays finally got on the winning side again. So maybe, just maybe, we will have some positive things to talk about on our episode here. And game three, as we know, did get rained out. It'll be continued as part of a doubleheader on August the 26th. Riley, there was big news for the Toronto Blue Jays. The first one this week not being that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. cut his hair. It's that you, Riley McConnell, you cut your hair. And holy shit, man, you look at least 5 years younger. For those of you on the audio side, come to YouTube, take a look at this. Riley McConnell, what happened here, man? Tell us about it.
Well, actually, do you know the straw that broke the camel's back? I was doing dishes at my girlfriend's parents' house, and I like to think of myself as a respectful guy for the most part. So I'm not wearing a hat in the house. And at the end of the day, if I'm constantly going like this, getting hair, like I pretty much rage quit from the dishes, and I told Carrie, I said, I've had enough. I said, I'm going to get a haircut tomorrow. And I did on Monday. I got a haircut. Yeah. And Vlad had no influence for it. It was about time, man. I mean, I was looking like Johnny Damon-esque, like bum, like the beard and everything. Like I mean, the amount of orange in my beard and that started in the hair, it was just getting too much, man. The small things, right? I cut my hair and we still got walked off. So it's not like I mean, we're 1-1 in the new Riley hair era. If that means
that we will definitely be keeping track of.
We will not be keeping track of that stat. That is the most unofficial stat in all of Major League Baseball. No, it feels good. I might be 5 years younger. I definitely feel like I'm 5 pounds lighter. As far as what's going on in my head, I can see again. It's wonderful.
Well, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has taken a turn for the better since he cut his hair. So, Riley, I'm going to assume your podcasting powers are just going to be that much better now that you've got the haircut. But let's get into the episode here. A lot of interesting things. Even though it was just a little 2-game series at Fenway Park, the Blue Jays always seem to play very interesting baseball at Fenway Park, including in game one. And I'm going to tell you a story here. I got home in game one and I saw the Blue Jays were up 6-2. And I'm sitting here thinking, all right, this is great. Finally, the Blue Jays are going to win a game. This is going to be stress-free. We're going to go through. Bassett pitched well, it looked like. And then I got in, turned on the TV just as Tim Meza was entering the game. And for those of you guys who maybe didn't watch the game, bad things happened after that. Comedy of errors from the Toronto Blue Jays, whether it was dumb mistakes. We had a balk that came out really bad. We had a caught stealing from Stuart Baroa, and just a whole bunch of stuff fell apart. Maybe some bad decisions from John Snyder too, and ultimately the Blue Jays lost the game there. So that was very tough, but it was good we were able to get around in game two. We'll dive deep into what happened in that series there, but I felt awful after that game one of the series, and that might have been the most heartbreaking individual loss of the season so far.
Yeah, and as good of a series that Vladdy had, that drop ball, that was one for the ages. That's like
that was in game two, but yes.
Or yeah, well, I mean that was some 80s-esque blooper reel type stuff right there. That absolutely hilarious. You hate to see it, but at the same time too. We'll probably talk about Vladdy. He did some impressive things. As much as the Blue Jays have not been impressive as a whole, hey, at least a couple guys are doing it, Jesse. I mean, it's definitely not. Baseball's a team sport, but the team as a whole, not so good right now.
Yeah, well, let's go to that positive thing you mentioned in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Riley. And I'm just going to start with a generic statement I was thinking about while watching Vladimir Guerrero Jr. play over the past week or so, or this little road trip. True or false? This is the best Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has looked since that 2021 season.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. I'll agree with
right?
that. Yeah, I agree with that, man. I mean, he had a ton of hits. He had a three hit performance in the first game, I believe, and then 2 and 4 RBIs in the 9-4 win. Like, hey, that's impressive for 2 games.
7 RBIs in this series alone in 2 games. And if you include his last game in Cleveland, he has 10 RBIs over his last 3 games. 9 hits, Riley, 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 3 singles. That'll work. That'll work quite well. And the big thing I'm taking away from Vlad, remember like 3 episodes ago when we were talking about, man, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. doesn't have an extra base hit on the fastball so far. He seems to be just hammering the slow stuff. Well, it's almost like he was listening, or somebody was listening and told him, hey, Vladdy, you're at your best when you can crush the fastball. And he did just that. In fact, it wasn't his 471-foot bomb that came off a breaking pitch, but the double he hit into center field was off a big fastball, a Brian Bayo fastball. His home run he hit in game 1 of the series, I believe it was game 1, was hit off the 4-seam fastball. It is finally good to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. turn and attack the fastball, because when he was doing his MVP-like numbers, hitting 48 home runs, it was the 4-seam fastball he did the most damage with. And I'm feeling very, very, very optimistic about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. we're seeing now.
I think at the end of the day, with a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., there's scouting reports on every single player in the league, and pitchers are doing their homework. Hitters are doing their homework. It seems like the Blue Jays aren't a lot of the time, but that's neither here nor there. And if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can improve on parts of his game, we will slowly get back his MVP-esque type. Now, I'm not saying that's still far removed, Jesse, but if we can get kind of a sliver of that. And we saw it when we went into Fenway, that double he hit and then set himself up to basically hit it. Anytime you hit a baseball 470 feet, you've done probably the best at barreling that pitch up and driving that out of the ballpark. That's what you call a no doubter. And he did his homework, man. I mean, a ton of RBIs, a ton of hits, a ton of extra base hits. That's what we need out of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is our best hitter on the season. And when he does things like this, it gives us a chance to win ball games.
I don't think it's an accident either that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has gotten hot all of a sudden over the last 3 games. And the Blue Jays quietly have scored 20 runs over our last 3 games as well, which is something like that's not an accident. That we've said it going back to the offseason. This team will go as far as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. takes us. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is playing out of his mind right now. The team is scoring runs. It's weird how that correlates with each other. And just one more fact on the distance, 471 feet, the longest home run Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit in his career. In fact, it's the 3rd hardest hit ball in baseball this year that didn't come at Coors Field. I think only, I want to say, Mike Trout and it's either Judge or Stanton. It's one of those Yankees guys who has a ball hit further than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that year. So elite company from Vladdy. Any other thoughts on him, or do you want to move on to another positive?
And you say elite company, Jesse, but isn't there a time where we considered Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to be elite company? I mean, certainly the extra base hits were very scarce for a time. And I'm not saying that he's going to pop off this week against the Bronx Bombers and go nuts again and have 10 RBIs through, the first even 3 games or even on the series. But if we can get him essentially in his spot in the lineup to drive in those runners, and essentially if he can pop off, hit another home run, that's great. If he gets if we have those 2-out situations, runner in scoring position, we need him to drive in those runs. And I think he's the most capable guy to do that right now on the Blue Jays.
Honestly, if I'm another team right now, like if I'm the Yankees coming into town and I'm facing the Blue Jays lineup, I'm not giving Vladimir Guerrero Jr. anything to hit. I would rather face Justin Turner 10 times out of 10. And Vladdy's the only guy in this lineup that really seems to be able doing anything right now. But we'll take it while he's hot, and we'll be able to ride on to that. On the offensive side of the ball, Riley, it's weird. We scored a bunch of runs, but it really didn't seem like the Blue Jays had too many big standout performances, except for one guy we have been waiting for to finally have a big day. And this is very long overdue, but Riley, George Springer did something positive here. He had 3 hits, including a home run that went to right center field. He had a double. He had another hard hit ball up the middle. 3 hit games. We don't need to talk about how bad George Springer has been. We've been doing it on every single episode we've done for the last month. But this was a positive sign, and maybe a good thing of things to come. John Schneider has been talking about how the Blue Jays have metrics that say that George Springer's due for a way to come back. I don't know what the hell he's looking at because it's clearly wrong. But anyways, hey, look, 3-hit day, a home run to right center field. The wind might have been drifting out to right field a bit, but still he hit it there. He did the thing. He got to put on the jacket. It was great stuff. Is this more of a sign of things to come, I guess, for George Springer?
No. I mean,
Right.
honestly, man, this is a feel-good moment. Good for George Springer. But, man, as much as we've gone into ripping him apart, like, I don't feel like giving him a whole lot of props. Like, sure, 3 hits and a home run. Great. Tremendous, in fact. I mean, when we scored, we scored 9 runs in that ball game, and he was the key contributor, really, aside from Vladdy, in that ball game. Like, good for him, because that's the way it should be. But it's not going to go down like this anymore, Jesse. He had a good game. I think if anything, like, John Schneider's going to go, oh, look at George. Oh, like kind of like he's the coach's kid in a way. He's going to look at that performance he had, and he's going to carry that like, oh, geez, George Springer. Oh, we're not going to bat him leadoff today. Oh, we'll put him in the cleanup spot. That's a great idea. And then watch him go 0 for 4 type thing. Cause that's the way I feel like it's going to go down. And again, I don't personally dislike Springer at all. But it doesn't take even a real baseball guru to know that this is probably going to be George Springer's worst statistical year of his career. And for him to salvage the next 2 years of essentially his baseball career, like I see this just going downhill from here. He'll sprinkle in a couple good games now and then. Of course, baseball, it will always figure it out. Like, I'm sure he'll duck above 200 to finish the year. I want to say that. Like that, but that's at minimum. Like, I mean, if he finishes the year with a 208 batting average, something has already gone terribly wrong for George Springer this year, and it's not going to essentially iron itself out. He's not going to be a tremendous contributor for the rest of this year. It's nice that he'll sprinkle in these good games from time to time at the dish, because that's what I think it's going to be like for the rest of the George Springer era for the Toronto Blue Jays.
I hate to even put a damper on him when things are going well, but even though he had the 3 hits, one of them was a barrel. That was it, right? The other ones were just kind of soft hits, and he was 7th on the Blue Jays in average exit velocity in this series alone. So 6 guys hit the ball harder, and George Springer hit a home run in this series. So it's still more of the underlying badness for George Springer. We have nothing really more to say. Good things. Glad to see it. But it just ultimately wasn't going to come up. On the Blue Jays offensive side, before we switch over to pitching, just some minor things that also caught my attention here. Riley, Addison Barger has not really hit the ball that well. He kind of got off to a good start there, and he's been kind of struggling a little bit. He wasn't in the lineup for Game 3 here today. So I wonder kind of what the plan is for Addison Barger going forward here. And also, Ernie Clement. Have you seen Ernie Clement at all in a while? I think he started 1 of the last 6 games for the Blue Jays after going like 11 for 18 in his time before then. And then Spencer Horwitz did have 2 walks in this series, scored a bunch of runs. He got hit by a pitch twice in the 2 games as well, did Spencer Horwitz. So just casually, quietly doing his thing. I think he has the trust of John Schneider hitting him at the top of the order. I include those 3 guys together because they're like the Buffalo boys of the group. But I want to know if you had a thought on Barger, Horwitz, or Ernie Clement.
I absolutely do with Barger. 100%, because I'm the opposite way. His batted ball luck has been some of the most unlucky things. Dom Smith turned a double play. He would have had a ball
down the line, right?
Like he's if you look at the plays, how hard he's hit a ball and everything like that. Honestly, like Barger is hitting the ball extremely hard and in good places. I argue that he needs more at-bats to figure this out. And I'm okay with that at this point in the Blue Jays season. I want Addison Barger in this lineup. For me personally, I like that. I like to see this upside, man. He's going to be not a tremendous ball player, but it tremendously important for what this team needs right now. And with this versatility, the tools that he possesses. But man, you see how hard he hits the ball, and the second baseman makes a hell of a dive, or the first baseman, because he's pulling the ball with authority. I mean, that's something we need. And Barger's that guy to do it. I think keep him in the lineup, play him a little bit more, because his batted ball luck has been extremely unlucky. He should have a higher batting average and OPS because of how unlucky he's gotten.
Yeah, he does have a 35.5% hard hit rate, which for a guy who swings as hard as Addison Barger, that shouldn't surprise anyone. And the expected WOBA is a lot higher than the actual WOBA. So going on to what you said, yes, the StatCast results do say that he should be running into a few more things, but striking out about 30% of the time, not drawing walks, and he has a negative launch angle, which I think is the problem for Addison Barger right now, is he's just, when he hits the ball hard, yes, he's hitting it on the ground too much, which is the same thing a young Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had. And the good news is with this, at least, I think this is fixable. So I agree with you. Let's give Addison Barger a bit more of a run because we got nothing to lose, honestly. We're down there with like the Angels, Oakland, and White Sox. So we might as well just throw Addison Barger out there and let him develop these skills so he can get better to be ready for the next time the Blue Jays are ready to compete.
And I'm going to pull some of this, like, I'll use a phrase coined from Moneyball. I'll call it good body nonsense. I love Addison Barger's body language. I love the neutral look on his face because it almost looks like it's more of a smile. He never scowls. I think this is a positive type guy. And I love that for the team. I'm sure that he is the type of player that will fall into any role you give him. And I don't know if John Schneider's the right type of manager for this guy. I won't lie about that. But I think Barger has a hell of a lot of potential. I've really enjoyed to see him on the field and what he's done this year. Yeah, he's not perfect and he's no blue chip prospect, Jesse. But I think he'll be an extremely useful tool, whether he is a Blue Jay for 10 years, whether he goes on and becomes a journeyman or whatever his trajectory is. I think that Addison Barger is an extremely useful and talented ball player with a great sort of aura to him. And I like that about, and in a time where things aren't going well, I think he's just tickled to be in the big leagues and he should be doing better than he is. At the end of the day, I like Addison Barger. I feel as though we could really utilize and move forward with a player like this.
And just one more note on the position player side before we talk some pitching here. Bichette got reinstated from the IL in game 2. Did go 0 for 4, did draw a walk. So before I talk Baroa, then, did you have a thought on Bichette's first game back?
Well, I mean, I was surprised to see him bat in the leadoff spot.
Yeah. And
what
so
was
were
that?
A lot of people, to be honest.
I mean, let's not get into, like, we can sit here and do a whole roast on John Schneider and the decisions, whatever. So they choose to bat him there. I'm not surprised on his 0 for. I think Bichette has hit well at Fenway, if I'm not mistaken. So sure, like, I get the decision, but I could have seen an 0 for 4 coming. That's fine. He's not going to sit on the bench. It's Bichette. So you hope that
you're going to play him.
You hope that he makes an impact. If Vladdy's rocking, the hope Bo picks it up too, because again, this will probably be his worst season. Looking back at it, 2024 has not been kind to a lot of Blue Jays. Bichette, no exception.
If the lineup is going well and like Bichette is hitting well and he's doing what you think he should be doing, then yeah, I can understand him having him in the leadoff shot. But he hasn't seen that bat in 10 days, throwing him right in there seems questionable. His replacement though, Stuart Baroa, we got our first look at him. We actually got to see him on the diamond, and I can see by the eye roll, what's happening here. He was pinch running for Alejandro Kirk, which is going to be his role on this team if he's here. He's going to be your 26-man pinch runner, play good defense. Got caught stealing in his first time and was immediately set back down to Buffalo. I think that one play alone got him like second on the team in negative win probability added, getting caught stealing there in a tie game in the 9th. So take the lesson, Stuart Baroa. We'll see you back by the end of the year, I'm sure, but that was a tough way for him to make his debut.
And just so brief, I mean, I'm sure he didn't expect if you asked me who in the Blue Jays organization was going to get a game this year, I did not have Stuart Baroa even close to that list of outfielders. And it's not highly touted prospects like Al Rodin and Stuart Baroa, Deshaun Brown. These are guys who are not going to go 20-20 in a season at the major league level. And it was fun. Like, I get his role. But if that's your tools, like, that's like Terrence Gore pinch running in the World Series and getting thrown out. I don't know if that happened. I can't, but you know what I mean? If you want to be a pinch runner, you better be a damn good pinch runner. Because if you are a one-tool player, and your only tool is speed. Speed is
a good defender too, but yeah.
Sure. And then I'm not even going to mention the outfielders we have on this team. If you want to talk defense, Jesse. However, if you want to talk about a one-dimensional guy that running is his only tool, he better be a damn good runner, and he better be a damn good base stealer. And sure, like I get it, he got thrown out. Runners aren't getting thrown out a lot. Blue Jays, I mean, unless you're Justin Turner, you're not getting thrown out on the bases a whole lot. So it sucked. Like honestly, it sucked. He got the tiniest sip of caffeine for his so-called cup of coffee at the major league level, and now he's sent back down. He has one or 2 days of service time in Major League Baseball. That'll look really funny. I think it'll read like 0.001 or 0.002, whatever it says. But I didn't even expect him to be here. It's cool. But for that to be really the only thing you have done, kind of a crappy big league career if we never see him again.
Well, he got a big league paycheck. He officially has a baseball reference page. So there you go. Congratulations, Stuart Baroa. Let's move to the pitching side. And we didn't get to really look at Yariel Rodriguez today. He threw 1 inning, didn't allow a run, but then the rain came, so we didn't get to see a lot of him. We'll see more of him next time. But the 2 starters we did get to see pitch, Chris Bassitt and Kevin Gausman. Chris Bassitt nails again, got to 100 pitches. He only gave up 2 earned runs. I think I saw the stats somewhere. He has like a 1.73 ERA over his last 4 starts. And he's 0-4 in that time. So the Blue Jays just simply cannot get a win for Chris Bassitt, which is absolutely wild. And then Kevin Gausman, I'm actually more encouraged from this Kevin Gausman start than I probably was when he threw the complete game shutout against Oakland, because he has struggled in Boston. I remember last year he had a massive blow up when he went to Fenway Park. And then he came in here, he's throwing his fastball a little bit harder. I think he threw the fastest fastball since like late May in this series, 97.5. And we've talked about how the velocity for Gausman wasn't always there and he wasn't getting that much bite on his splitter. He threw 1 slider in this start too, which means he was really going fastball slitter. And the fact that it was working, I mean, he did give up a couple home runs, so it wasn't perfect for Gausman, but I'm actually leaving more encouraged after this start for Kevin Gausman than I was previously. So Bassitt and Gausman, do you have a takeaway from any of them?
I'm just mostly Gausman. I'm tremendously confused. I was never a pitcher. It's a different beast. I'm tremendously confused why his velocity for his 4-seam fastball ranges between 89 and 97. Hey, when it comes to pitching, I think the word we're looking for is consistency, because we sure as hell aren't getting it from our hitters. And if we can have some starting pitchers do some really good things, that'll keep us into the ball games. You hope we score 3 runs. But Gausman, he's just, I'm not saying he's all over the place and he's been all right. But I am probably a little bit more scared, a little bit more worried when he's towed the rubber in the last 2 to 3 weeks because of that velocity spike and drop. Because what guy are we going to get on the hill? I mean, I feel great about Jose Barrios. I know that he hasn't been spectacular as of late, but I still feel more comfortable with Barrios than Gausman right now, because it's just with his velocity, it's draws a concern for me. His pitch selections, as far as not throwing the slider, as long as you got 2 pitches that you can work off of, that's great. I don't care what pitches Gausman throws at the end of the day. If he wants to mix in a third and it's for 1 pitch out of whatever he threw, 89, 92, whatever. I was glad. I think that he got not lucky, but the Red Sox had some pretty hard hit balls against him. And at the end of the day, it could have been a lot worse for Kevin Gausman. But again, he goes 6 innings and we win the ball game. So at the end of the day, no harm, no foul whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the velocity for Kevin Gausman too, there was an article done by him at Fangraphs that says no pitcher throws harder fastballs with 2 strikes compared to their average velocity than Kevin Gausman. So he's very much a try to throw it by you guy with 2 strikes, which I think is part of his pitching plan. But and this is probably a conversation for the offseason too, but remember, he didn't have much of a spring training, right? He didn't really get the time to ramp up, and he is on the wrong side of 30. So, maybe it's a sign of decline. Maybe it's just he wasn't able to fully build up. Who knows? But we'll touch on that more as we get into the offseason, or what the bigger picture plans are for Kevin Gausman. Riley, I want to talk bullpen. And I don't want to say good things.
I don't want to talk. Yeah. I'm just looking at it right now. But yeah, I won't cut you off. But wow. Yeah, we will talk about the bullpen. I don't want to talk about the bullpen. And
Now,
Jesse, why don't I want to talk about the bullpen?
so caveat, we all know the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen is hurting right now. Jordan Romano's not there. Jimmy Garcia's not there. We're really relying on guys we thought might even be just AAA depth. And even our depth in the bullpen is getting tested pretty heavily. Like we've seen like the Ryan Burrs come up, the Brandon Eiserts come up, right? So we are really running on fumes in our Toronto bullpen right now. However, man, I think I might be just done with Tim Meza. Like, I want to say thank you for your service. You're the longer tenured Toronto Blue Jay we've had. There's not a chance in hell we're tendering him a contract for 3-point-something million in the offseason, right? So if you're not going to keep him around for next year and he keeps pitching like this, you can't have him. I saw a stat, Riley. In his last 6 outings, he's allowed more base runners than he's gotten outs. That simply will not do for a big league reliever for Tim Meza. And the fact that he was brought in a 4-run lead to face Devers, I get it. Rafael Devers, great hitter, right? But that is your role as a left-handed pitcher on this team. You couldn't get him out. Then Tyler O'Neill comes up, who I'm pretty sure I mentioned last series is batting $1 billion against left-handed pitching. Was able to do it here. And like, it did not work for Tim Meza. Like, I'm ready to let him go.
Well, Jesse, I mean, he didn't record an out in his outing.
Yeah.
In this,
exactly.
And we that's a blow up. I mean, listen, I feel so bad. My 2 favorite relief pitchers to start this year, who I thought, they're going to have great seasons, has gone horribly wrong. One of them, not even with the major league club right now, and the other, and the guy, the main focus of this, Tim Meza, just an abysmal outing, dude. I mean, it's really frustrating because to me, in the perfect world, he is the guy that steps up in the absence of other pitchers, but it hasn't even been close. He's a total liability. Like Brandon Little should be out there ahead of him. And I
agree. Yeah.
I don't even know if I trust that guy to do a load of laundry. Like I don't and Cabrera, same thing. Like I don't love the lefties on this team, but it's frustrating because I have the expectations for a guy like Tim Meza, or just Tim Meza in general. I have expectations I laid out for him. Hell, I thought he was going to be an all-star this year. He ain't the all-star of anything, man. This is really bad. This is a nightmare season for him. And it's going to be really hard. Relief pitchers already are kind of under scrutiny getting jobs in Major League Baseball anyways. I think if it's not with the Toronto Blue Jays, he's going to have a hard time finding a high leverage role ever again in baseball. He's going to be in working because he is, 32 or 33, whatever he is. He's not a young guy anymore. It's going to be very hard from here on for Tim Meza in his major league career, unfortunately, because I really like him. Longest tenured guy.
Yeah, right. And he's done some great things for the Blue Jays over his career. Don't get us wrong. But right now, I think it's time to be done.
This is not his year. What could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And when you go and essentially, like, I won't say single-handedly lost us the game, but it was probably the most important role in losing us that game. And, the cookie, we watched essentially the cookie crumble around us. And there's nothing we can do, watching it there. Poor Tereso's in the ballpark at Fenway watching this. I have the luxury of watching this from my TV, and I wasn't the least bit happy about what I saw. Frustrating because you hope that a guy like Tim Meza, for me, I wish success upon guys like that. Love veteran pitchers, and it sucks because I didn't think it was possible. But Jesse, anything is possible in baseball, and I did not have this even close to being in my mind that the season would go this wrong for Tim Meza.
Fangraphs has a stat that I know I've mentioned it with Jordan Romano before, but it's your shutdowns versus your meltdowns. So how many times does a reliever come in and, does what it sounds like, shut the game down, do it things. Jimmy Garcia leads the team with 16, and he's by far and away number one. It's not even really that close. And surprising nobody, the leader in meltdowns, Tim Meza with 8.
I was going to say, let me guess. Yeah. I was going to say, do they even have a number, or is it just the radioactive signal for how many meltdowns? Honestly, man, it's not pretty.
Riley, on that list I had of shutdowns and meltdowns, Tim Meza number 1 on meltdowns on the team. Can you guess which Toronto Blue Jay is second on that meltdown list? And spoiler alert, they are not currently on the Toronto Blue Jays right now.
Like for this season.
Yeah, for this season, yeah.
Not on the Toronto Blue Jays now. What the hell is that supposed to?
Well, he's not with the big league club. He's down.
Oh, so it's Eric Swanson.
So it's Eric Swanson, Riley,
Yeah,
and I
the
bring that
next
up.
guy on my list of guys I
Yes.
like and wish they did well. Gotta bring him. Gotta throw. Yeah.
I was just scrolling through MILB, like their webpage, just to see what's going on in the minor leagues. And I saw the Mets had sent down Brett Beatty, and I'm seeing, oh, Brett Beatty hit another home run. That's nice. Like, he was a former top prospect for the Mets. Like, he could play a pool. And then I just happened to look, hey, that was a bomb. Who did he hit that off of? And then I looked and I'm like, oh, it's the Bisons. Oh, it's Eric Swanson. That's great. Who I think has an ERA over 17 now, down there in Buffalo. And the velocity and the stuff on the splitter looks fine. It's just the same issue it was when he was in the big league club. It's location for Eric Swanson. And I don't know if, like, this is definitely a lost year for Swanson. And it started that way all the way back in spring training. But like, once you lose it like this, I don't know how you can flick that switch and just find it again. It seems really hard.
For me, it's the same kind of path that Swanson has. Swanson's few years younger than Tim Meza. But again, it's going to be, thanks, Bassy, it's going to be very hard for Eric Swanson to find those high leverage roles in baseball until proven otherwise. Mm-hmm. Because why would you call him up if that's the case? Like, Jesse, I don't know what it's going to take for essentially his rehab for him to get it back, but he should not be with the Toronto Blue Jays. And if it takes the rest of the year, he's not coming up in September. Let a younger, unproven guy do it. Like, if we know what we're going to get from Swanson and he hasn't improved with Buffalo, there is no sense, because at this point in the year, let's get some younger guys some service time. Let's test the waters. Let's get a little bit freaky. We're not going to make the playoffs. Why the hell? It's more embarrassing to lose games that way than to go, we called up a couple rookies and we lose the game. I have way more patience with that stuff. I have about zero tolerance left for the veterans on the big league team that are just not cutting it. And I could name drop for the next 20 to 30 seconds. I'm not going to, but I hate it for Eric Swanson, what he went through early on in the year and that he doesn't have it back. It does a lot for a man's psyche. And I mean, I really want to see him get back to the major leagues, obviously, but we can't have him back because this isn't a charity. This is a professional sport. This is a business. You want to do what's best for your business. You want to do what's best for your team. And it's not Eric Swanson. I can tell you that right now. Keep him in Buffalo. And honestly, protect him in Buffalo. If he's going to go out there and give up 11 runs in 2 innings, then he needs to sit in the bullpen for a couple days. He needs to talk with people. He needs to feel like he's still included, that he's still very much a part of this organization. And that he can't give up on himself, and people around him aren't giving up on him as well. Because I still see a lot of good upside in a pitcher like that.
Yeah, the thing is too, like, I think the issue with Swanson is kind of an outside of baseball thing. I think it might be a mental clarity thing. And the Blue Jays have prided themselves in having good, like, mental health coaches and whatnot too. And I hope Eric Swanson can find that click to get back, because we know when he's on, he's one of the best relievers in baseball. But just like Tim Meza, there is not a chance we sign him to the $3 million arbitration extension he's going to want this offseason. So we might have seen the last of Eric Swanson as a Toronto Blue Jay as well. Just some other notes down on the farm, Riley. Joey Votto had a bit of back tightness, so he was out of the lineup, but he was back in the lineup today. I think he went 0 for 3. He saw 7 pitches, swung at 4 of them. So Joey Votto has been itching to get back there in the game. And then our top prospect, Ricky Tiedemann, took the mound again. 2 1/3 innings pitched. So we'd like to see that inning total get a little higher, but he was dominant. Hitless innings. He did walk 2, but he also struck out 5. Got 10 swings and misses on the 19 swings he induced. You've heard this before. The stuff is filthy from Ricky Tiedemann. I'm glad to see that even after the time off, the stuff is still filthy. Now, it is like low A-ball hitters, so take that with a grain of salt or whatnot. But it's good to see Ricky Tiedemann is now on the train to rebuilding and getting back up, because it should be all systems go, assuming he doesn't have a setback. And we should see Ricky Tiedemann here shortly, probably after the trade deadline. Yeah, sure. By all means, if all kind of lights are green for him, and it's about pitchers in these injuries. It's a scary thing, man. Because you never know when a guy's going to go down for an extended period of time. And we've just had such atrocious luck with these pitchers and with our homegrown guys that I hope Ricky Tiedemann comes up this year and gets a few appearances, whether they're starts, whether it's whatever it is.
I would like to see him if we go down the road, which I think is going to be the Sellers route. And
It's got to be.
And Ricky Tiedemann is still part of this organization. Then he's got to get into some games this year. We start the clock on his MLB career, and we get him into ball games, get him comfortable, but protect him as well. Because if he goes out there and in 4 innings gives up 8 earned runs, then we're not gonna send him back out in the same thing, because that's insane. That's what insanity is. We need to learn from mistakes that happen. And Ricky Tiedemann is young. The major league level, he will go through growing pains. There will be hiccups, but he's such an exciting prospect to watch. He's our number 1 guy right now. I want to see him up with the club.
I just had this thought, and this is kind of random, going off topic about what we were just talking about. But remember how like we were been saying these Blue Jays need to sell for like months now. Like it's been quite obvious from everybody that this team is not good enough. We need to sell. Ross Atkins kept saying, it's like, nope, we like our opportunities. We're going to buy. We're going to buy. We're going to buy. And remember last episode, we talked about Ross Atkins finally changed his tone about the future of this team and what things really look like. And I think that correlated with Orelvis Martinez's 80-game suspension, which made me think like, I think Ross Atkins' plan was to try to trade Orelvis Martinez to try to get more things on the team. And I think the fact that he was suspended meant we can no longer trade him for his value. And now it's kind of forced him to sell a little bit. Just a thought. I don't know if I have any back to it, but I just had that spur of the moment and thought I'd share it here.
That's all you, Jesse.
Yeah.
We're 35 minutes into the episode, man, and you're breaking down Orelvis Martinez conspiracy theories. That's fine and dandy, man, but you're on your own for that one.
It's getting late over here. I'll tell you that.
I'm still festering about the bullpen right now because it's still kind of unbelievable how many guys have struggled at the same point that you thought were going to have really good seasons, and it's the opposite.
Even when we win a game in a series, Riley, we're still kind of bummed out about this team. It's been a hell of a year.
I've been not too pleased even when we're winning. Like at the game 2, like and of course the game gets suspended, rained out, whatever you want to call it. We win 9-4 in game 2. And it's like, and I just say to myself, just like, well, that's great. What are we going to do tomorrow? You know, exactly. and we only got about an inning into 2 innings into the game. And it's like, well, we'll never know. And now it's on to the next one, pack it up, boys. We're heading back home.
All right, we are heading back home. It'll be our last homestand before the All-Star break. We have 4 against the Yankees, and then the Houston Astros coming to town over Canada Day and the first few days into July. And then we have 1 more road trip before the All-Star break, so it's your last chance to get out to the Dome before that happens. Riley, I'm going to stop asking you, like, how many games are we going to win? Who's going to be your pick to click or whatever? I'm just going to ask, what do you want to see from this Toronto Blue Jays team against the heavily favored New York Yankees this week?
Honestly, I want to see George Springer not bat in the first half of this batting order. I want to see Spencer Horwitz up there. I want to see Barger. I want to see Barger get into half of these games. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. The Yankees aren't throwing 2 left-handed pitchers in this series, so I want to see Barger in at least 2 of these games. No questions asked. And essentially, like, I don't care who's like, I want to see the Buffalo boys. I'm on Tereso's side with this. Get the Buffalo kids playing. Because I think that there's a ton of upside for them. Get them their major league at bats. I don't want to watch Justin Turner and George Springer absolutely blow up there. Like if Horowitz goes down swinging on 3 pitches, I'll just kind of dust that off and say, well, I'm sure he learned something in that at bat. You're not going to teach George Springer and Justin Turner, guys like that, really new things at the major league level. Let this be a learning experience for a lot of these guys. And I would like to see these young kids get some ABs against a really good baseball team. That kind of proves before you learn how to win, you got to learn how to lose. And hey, I'm not saying that Horowitz is bad or anything like that, but if we play these Buffalo boys, we're going to lose a lot of these games, and it's going to build a lot of character. And if you want to go through the next wave of Blue Jays, you want them to be losers first. You got to lose before you know how to win. And then you can kind of surround yourself with the guys after that. It's a long way. Again, I'm talking,
it is,
years down the road, but it starts now with this lost season, because that's exactly what it is. Let the kids play.
You know, if you're going to suck, at least be fun. And, you know, the Buffalo Boys, at least if they're in there, they're at least fun. So we'd have that to root for. The thing I'm looking for this series is realizing we're just about 1 month away from the trade deadline. Also, by the way, tomorrow is game number 81. So we're exactly at the halfway point of the Toronto Blue Jays season. So we still have half a season to go, baby, of this. And that's going to be great. But I want to see the guys that are on the 1 year deals just play and hope to God they get hot. I mean, I want to see Varsho back in the lineup and see how he recovers from his back injury, but I want to show that Kiermaier can come in there, maybe just get some hits, and maybe we can flip him for something. Same with Justin Turner. Just bloop some doubles or something so some team looks at the stat line, and then maybe we can get a little bit more for him. And that's really what I want to see. Kikuchi and Danny Jansen really start to get this stuff going well. So these guys that are on 1 year deals and Trevor Richards just pitch the shit out of the ball over this past month. So when we trade you, you can get a better prospect coming back for us there. And that's what I want to see starting with this series in New York. Isaac, we'll just answer your one question here. We've talked about the Jays potentially making a coaching change, and he brings up the 2019 St. Louis Blues, who, if you're not a hockey fan, I think they had the worst record in the NHL or something like that. They fired their coach, and then the St. Louis Blues went on a miracle run, won the Stanley Cup. There has been some data in baseball to show that, yes, firing your coach can provide a little bit of a spark. We saw this when the Jays fired Charlie Montoyo. We were really good for like the next 2 weeks, and then we went right back to being the exact same team. And I think if we were to let go of John Schneider, the guy who's taking over is probably Don Mattingly, and I don't think Don Mattingly is going to dramatically improve this club in any way. I don't see it unless you hire someone else from completely outside the organization, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's got to cut deeper than coaching. I think that the 2019 Blues are an exceptional example, a big time exception in that it really lit a fire under them, and they drove with that momentum. I don't think that there's a ton of momentum going with this Toronto Blue Jays team. I really don't believe that firing your skipper is going to light enough of a fire with the players that we have. It's going to take a lot more. We need some guys out of Toronto, coaches, management, players. Things are going to have to change, and they damn well better change. I'm going to be a lifer for a Blue Jays fan, but you're going to lose a lot of fans if you keep running down this same road, because it really feels like we've been doing a lot of the same since this year started.
I mean, we got to get out of here, but the next thing we really got to know for the Toronto Blue Jays is the trade deadline's a little over a month away. It's basically going to see, what does this team look like? What moves do the Jays make at the trade deadline? And then also the draft. The draft is coming up too, so I guess we'll see what prospects we bring up. And then after that, it's going to be a lot more of the same until we let management go. And I mean, that probably doesn't come into the offseason. So it's going to be a lot of this for our Toronto Blue Jays going forward. Let's get out of here, Riley. I have nothing else to say. Big series against the Bronx. We're going to have some guests on Sunday night to recap this series. So make sure you stay tuned to our show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of interesting people on the show to cover the Yankee series. Hopefully have some more exciting things to talk about than Tim Meza blowing up like crazy. But we're keeping expectations quite low over here. Anything else to add, Riley, before we get out of here today?
You just said it. Keep expectations low.
The 2024 Toronto Blue Jays, low expectations.
I'll be at the game on Sunday. I'll tell you all. I love going up to the game, and then we got Monday off because it being Canada Day. So we'll just see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, man. It's a 4-game set. A lot can go good, but more realistically, a lot could go bad. Oh.
It's tough. It's tough out there. Anyways, for Riley McConnell and his new sharp haircut, I'm Jesse Burrell. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back Sunday night to recap the Yankees series. Until then, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.